I've always been a big believer of, having as many payment options as possible and, not really dictating how customers pay you because you want to just get paid at the end of the day. But even looking at it like that, people are still choosing ACH.
Hi, and welcome to another episode of the Payment Strategy Show. I'm Becky Kopplin, Head of Payments at Rainforest. We help software platforms embed payment processing into their core products to grow revenue and improve customer retention. And I'm so excited to be here today with my friend Adam Holden, who's the Head of Payments at D-Tools. D-Tools is a leading business management platform for custom integration and AV system integrators, providing proposal design, project management, and field services capabilities. Adam, thank you so much for being here with me today.
It is a pleasure, Becky. Thank you so much.
I like this, my first question, because I have this hypothesis that nobody gets into payments on purpose. And once you're here, you never leave. So I always lead off with a question about how you first got into payments. So tell us about how that happened and kind of what influenced you into stepping into that role.
Yeah. So, and I also have the same, belief, because I kind of fell backwards into payments. So started in banking. So I was a relationship banker for Capital One back in New York, and wound up leaving New York and finding myself at a small startup in Boca Raton, Florida, at a payments company called LexCharge. And I had a little bit of experience with payments after being a relationship banker and moving into business banking, but I never actually touched it. So when I was able to actually start getting my hands around it and understanding it, that's where I kind of fell in love with it. And it was kind of on accident. And then that just catapulted me into the payments industry. Went through a couple of acquisitions, wound up at ProfitSolve, which was a portfolio company of GSP. And now I'm over at D-Tools as the head of payments. And honestly, I don't see myself leaving payments. I really love it. Love helping businesses understand their cash flow cycles, helping them out with that, and really shedding light on payments to them, which is not necessarily the most transparent field or products, out there at the moment.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. The education is necessary and a fun part of the job, I would say.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I've always loved teaching. I love learning. I was fortunate enough to have some great mentors as I was, coming up through the ranks. And I've been able to, teach other people, build sales teams, support teams, all in the payment space. And, some of my favorite things is actually educating merchants, on, payment platforms and how they work and all the fun rails behind it and all the different associations, and some of my favorite rules and regulations.
The fact that you just said you have your favorite rules and regulations, I think like catapults you or cements you into like payment nerddom there. Do you have like a favorite interchange category while we're at it?
So I mean, cost plus, was always something, I found larger merchants was always able to benefit from all the different interchange rates, all
Yeah.
300 plus of them that we get to look at our fund matrix from Wells Fargo every 2 times a year. But I think if we're coming from profitability side, one that's I don't think is really used much anymore, which is ERR,
Hmm.
enhanced recovery reduce, which we were able to build a really profitable payments business back at LexCharge, with that. But it's not really the most transparent, easy to understand for merchants. So larger merchants, interchange plus, cost plus, but definitely in verticalized software, flat rate. That way merchants understand exactly what they're paying. They can forecast what they're going to be paying at the end of the month, end of the year, and also help, with their costs and pricing of their services and products.
Yeah, it's hard to beat flat rate in terms of simplicity, but You've led payments now in a couple different roles at a couple different companies. Like, what's unique about what you're doing today with field services, and why is payments kind of so important for businesses in your vertical?
Yeah. So, I mean, the one big difference in, field services and AV integrators from, where I came from, which was the legal vertical, was really like the ticket sizes, the progress-based invoicing, which was something that was completely different and foreign to me, especially when I was, guiding attorneys on how to send out, retainers and invoices for just services. Here, dealing with AV integrators, having to, basically have side by side of product and services, and then also all of the different terms that they bill on. That was like the biggest change. And then also how many different pieces of the business payments touches when it comes to AV integrators, because it's not just a product and a service. They have their subscription platforms. They have, monitoring agreements on the fire and alarm monitoring size, and helping them set up their recurring billing, making sure that they're collecting on either on a monthly basis, quarterly, or annual. It was big difference, but again, I always love to learn, and the cash flow cycles of these businesses is a lot more complex, which I have a lot of fun with at the end of the day.
Yeah, and I mean, you serve, thousands of custom integrators and AV installers today. So, like, what's your take as you're thinking about payment needs and cash flow in these aspects? Like, what's your take on ACH specifically for impact to these businesses?
Yeah, it's a simple answer is it's very rewarding, and it's unlike anything I had seen in the past. To where maybe you had like a 50-50 split, or maybe it was just 90% credit cards and 10% ACH, something like that. What I used to deal with in the past, but here we are mainly ACH heavy, almost 70% ACH, which made it a lot of fun because the ACH platforms have just changed over the years, and the speeds have been getting better, and the ability to have some more transparency in it as well, which really led us into diving into the ACH product and expanding it. Going from when we launched back in 2024 of August, just having that standard ACH platform, and then slowly migrating into having another option of ACH through Plaid, which gave more transparency to our merchants. Having the bank account confirmed, as well as the balance in the bank account to help reduce those pesky returns that we always see, on day two of a 4-day cycle. That really helped a lot. And then also, with the advancements in next day ACH, which we launched, it was the 9th of this month, in July, that has been adopted. And that's just been something that everyone has been asking for. The cash flow for these businesses, you have to make sure we're getting them paid fast, after settlement. And that way they're able to, get those deposits quicker, get those products ordered quicker, and, get into those jobs and on the sites, and, really, really help their businesses grow, at that point.
And where do you think this preference for ACH came from? Is it driven by the customers? Is it the buyers? Like, who's kind of demanding this payment method?
Yeah, I'm gonna say both. So it's gonna be on the integrator side and the customer side. I've always been a big believer of having as many payment options as possible, and not really dictating how customers pay you, because you want to just get paid at the end of the day. But even looking at it like that, people are still choosing ACH, and especially for larger payments. The average transaction sizes for ACH are a lot bigger in this vertical than I've seen in others. And the integrators are choosing it, because at the end of the day, it's a lot cheaper. than, a credit card. And then also the customers are choosing it because, they also have the money and they want to be able to just pay that out of their bank account, which is super simple. So it's definitely being led by both. And it's actually pretty fun to see. Like I said, like as the payment landscape expands, having more options for the customers to pay is always going to be a good thing. But also having the ability to have a product that funds just as fast as a credit card is fantastic for everybody at the end of the day.
Do you think that payment flexibility, like having card and ACH and Plaid along there, is like a competitive advantage for your installer merchants? Like, is that an important part of their strategy?
Yeah, yeah, and like I was saying, like being able to get paid in multiples of different ways is just going to increase your chance of getting paid quicker. But also, like from what we've seen, especially when we're doing some of our, customer highlights, we've definitely seen having both of them side by side is increasing that speed to payment. And then also on the back end, like I said, I always love learning cash flow cycles and things like that of the business. We've also had customers come to us and tell us that they've seen a massive reduction in their AR, which is adding cash flow, to the business. So that could be, cash flow that goes out to expand the business, maybe win more jobs. But one of our really great customers, they saw a 70% reduction in their AR. So that was from 1.6 million down to 500,000 after they implemented D-Tools payments in D-Tools Cloud, which was great to see, because at the end of the day, like, we want to be able to help our merchants, and, having someone come to us with that story, just makes you feel like you're doing the right thing by them at the end of the day.
Yeah, that's a win. Like what a success story there. Like is it just payment optionality that you think drove that, or just also, implementation of some workflow improvements? Like what were all of the things that led up to that reduction, do you think?
Yeah. So it's gonna be the choices of, different payments, and the abilities to pay, but also, how far we embedded payments into our software. It touches almost every single piece of the software. From sending out a proposal and getting it signed, and then being able to collect that deposit immediately. Where in the past, they would send it out, it would get signed, they would have to figure out a way to then send a payment request or something like that, maybe from QuickBooks or another provider. And there's always downtime on that. And then also nowadays with, fraud as rampant as it is, you have this beautiful proposal that's being sent out that has everything on it, and you're signing it, and then you're getting a payment link in another email from another service. Some people may be, less, likely to click on something like that. So, being able to have everything tied in, like I said, through the proposal process, through the progress billing, and then also for the recurring billing as well for their service contracts and subscriptions. I think it all, ties together, and at the end of the day, makes for a great product that's really helping the business.
And you've got some interesting payment kind of frequencies that other folks may not have in other industries. You've got recurring, which I think is standard, but you've got this kind of job based or metric based billing that's unique. How do you guys handle and solve for that? Like, tell us more about what your integrators need there.
Yeah, so when it comes to that, it's just going to be the ability to send out that invoice at that time, whenever it's going to be needed. Because it is, term billing. So it's either being sent out before or sent out after. And we made it, really easy for them just to go into the software, be able to manage all of those terms in one place underneath the project, and just, with a click of a button, be able to send that out, whenever they need to. And with the fact that, there are those ups and downs and in between projects or in between terms, being able just to have something at your fingertips to be able to send that out immediately, and get paid, as quickly as possible. Again, it's really, really helping the business, at the end of the day.
I love that. So you've made a lot of like key strategic decisions with D-Tools in terms of the needs that your integrator merchants have. Um, uh, if you were to help us kind of translate some of that to other payment leaders in vertical SaaS, like what are some of the biggest challenges you see when working with your merchants on their payment strategy? And then maybe follow that up with what separates kind of, for platforms
Mhm.
from winning against those struggles.
Yeah, so one of the biggest things, which wasn't really too surprising to me because I kind of dealt with it, and in my past, but it's really the change management around a new process, right? So when you're either coming into a piece of software brand new, or even you know adopting a new process in a piece of software you'd use, and it's scary. People don't like change. They have something that works, so why would you want to change it? But that's the biggest one. And legacy systems, legacy payment systems, and getting them away from that. And at the end of the day, really focusing on the one platform to help them run their business and be more efficient and have everything in one place. Definitely helps them get over that hurdle. But that's because, and I'll go into that second question, with the winning platforms, with payments. It's really embedding it and making it a core piece of the software, which is going to help with that transition. So making sure that it's everywhere that it needs to be. There isn't anything like extra, like an external gateway or an external reporting system or anything like that. Just making sure that it's really simple to use, but again, it's touching all of the right places of the software. And when you're able to have that in your software, you're able to, basically create that stickiness with the customer to increase that LTV. And then also a lot of software companies, they have great customer service and people know them and they're comfortable talking to them. And when you're fully embedded and you have, everyone embrace it as a core functionality of the software, the support team is the same team that's going to be handling those questions, guiding the customer. So they're already speaking to someone that they know. They're not being passed off to a third party that doesn't really know who they are, doesn't really know the software. So that's a really big piece of it. Really making it a core functionality and not a feature. And then also, I mean, just from all of the different payment partners I'd had in the past, in all of the companies, choosing the right payment partner to match, with your software and what you really need. That speaks volumes when it comes to being able to support it. And again, just having it a core piece of that software.
I think a lot of payment leaders or even just companies that are thinking about embedded payment strategy, like they really struggle to understand this difference that I think you pointed out, which is critical. This, payments being core to the software versus kind of a value add. I think some people struggle to kind of make that leap. Um, how do you go about kind of diagnosing whether payments for you is a value add or core? And how do you help ensure, or what advice would you have for folks that are looking to ensure that payments feels necessary throughout?
Mhm. I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, if you're at that point where you really want to offer that experience to your customers, I think it's a great thing. So you're not using a third party on the outside. But really, where it comes down to it is, receiving buy-in from the top down. And here at D Tools, we're fortunate enough to have a leadership team that really embraces the fact that payments is a core feature. Like I said, we've embedded it completely. All transaction reports, deposit reports, chargeback reports, everything is embedded in the software to make it a core functionality. And when you have a leadership team that believes in it and believes in it like that, it just comes from the top down. And, it goes down from senior leadership, down to directors, down to the team, with the SDRs, BDRs, the sales team, customer success team, the support team, and for us, like that really shined, especially when we released in August of 2024, after some beta testing and, running a couple of beta accounts through there and getting that feedback from our customers. And then, August 2024 was a month before we went to, one of the largest shows of the year, CEDIA, out in Denver. And that year, after releasing our payments product, we actually won 2 awards there for our payments. One which was the Best of Show winner by Residential Systems Magazine, and also we won the 2024 CE Pro Best award in our software category. So I think that just speaks to the fact that everyone really was on board. They wanted to work cross-functionally because, if you don't have that, especially between product and sales and, everything, you're not going to get there. And honestly, it was just a really cool experience to see all of that work together and to be part of a team, that really cared that much to make sure that it was a great product, once we released it.
Congratulations. Like those are meaningful awards. Like that's got to feel really good.
Yeah. That was cool. I was able to accept the award on D-Tool's behalf. It was neat. And also to know, like, one of the biggest shows of the year, with a lot of our customers there. It was just awesome.
I love that. You mentioned support being kind of one person to talk to in support when you have an embedded payment product. I think some folks that are looking to embed are worried about the strain on their support team. I think in our experience, we've seen kind of actually tickets go down because you can kind of answer them all within context. But if folks are kind of thinking about or hearing that concern from their support team, what would you say about kind of taking a support team that was at one point just software support and pulling in payments? Like, what are your thoughts about how that goes, or how to do that well?
Yeah, I mean, it's all a testament to, one, picking the right partner, like y'all. You were able to, give us our, low code components that we were able to, get up and running really quickly. But when you truly embed it and it's not an integration, don't get me wrong, like payments to take on is scary. Like we said in the beginning, it's not always transparent. But when you have everything aligned and you have it embedded and you don't have an external gateway to teach people, an external reporting, to teach people, and it's just a piece of the software, it's a lot easier to grasp. And once you really get that across to the team, and, like I worked really closely with the support team because I believe, just coming from sales and leading payment sales teams in vertical SaaS for payments, you can sell anything, but it's about supporting your customers after the fact, right? So I really wanted to spend a lot of time with our support team, and we did a lot of, like a lot of team, like even one-to-ones and just, team trainings, and giving them access to everything that they would need to be successful. But once they saw that it was so much a piece of the software and there wasn't much changing in the questions that they were getting, you might get some authorization questions or like this failed or, an ACH was returned. With the ability to have all of the transparency that you all provide to us, it was really easy for them to understand. And that was really, it was a hurdle, but it wasn't that big of a hurdle. They really embraced it. And, the support team here has been fantastic. And they really picked it up quickly. And, just having them pick that up quickly and be confident in it shows when they do speak to a customer, that they're able to answer the same questions, provide them that support, make them feel comfortable, and then, being able to close out that ticket, with a happy customer, leaving. that's always great to see. But at the end of the day, like, it is scary, but if you have all the right things in place, it 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 just feels like a piece of the software at the end of the day.
Yeah, I love that explanation. And we've seen that firsthand so many times, right? Where it feels daunting. At the end of the day, it's such a better experience. And you actually see kind of some of those support questions or asks even decrease because there's less of that back and forth and confusion
It,
between different systems that you all have solved um, with your award winning payments integration, which is lovely. Uh,
yeah.
you've mentioned a couple of different times this concept around culture and cross functional alignment. We've seen that to be one of the most important elements to success. You all have built a great org that is fully payment aligned. For folks that don't have that, how do you go about creating that or getting that cross-functional alignment if it doesn't already exist, like it does so well today at D-Tools?
I think, just having even one or two people in the right place that can communicate it to everybody else will speak volumes. I've always gone from, I mean, working, for, a payment processor and being on the payment side, and then going into software companies to where I may be the only one that actually knows payments. As long as you have that drive and that willingness to be able to teach people and want to teach people about it, I feel they're receptive to it. But I feel like that's the big thing. It's just getting over that hurdle of teaching everybody. That's not so scary. And it'll trickle through, all of the teams, at the end of the day. But I think that's what it really takes, is just having a couple people, if you don't have any, if you don't have a head of payments, or maybe even, maybe if you're not that big, having, a director of sales that has payment experience, they're usually able to, teach everybody, that payments, being a core function of the software, is truly not that daunting at the end of the day.
Yeah, I love that cultural alignment or cross-functional alignment based on education, right? A
Hmm.
core
Yep.
understanding.
Yeah.
So you talked earlier about your new exciting accelerated ACH products, the next day ACH, which sounds like it's already doing really well, just a few weeks in now. But where's the roadmap go from here? Like, where does payments evolve for your AV installers?
Yeah. So one of the next big things with payments on the roadmap is going to be the tap to phone, or tap to pay for in-field payments, which is something that we've heard a lot of asks for, especially since we launched our application, for Apple and Android as well. So that's being worked on, and to me, that's a really exciting piece, because coming from payments, and I'm sure you remember this, Becky, like, having to plug in terminals into a phone line, and calling the help desk and having to do downloads over the phone, and then putting the codes in, and all of that fun stuff. um, the tap to phone functionality is really cool, because not only do you not need a physical terminal anymore, you don't need like either a Square device, or even a Bluetooth reader anymore. It just uses the functionality of the NFC on the phones. It really removes the ability to have to support terminals, which is a whole nother aspect of payments that I hope no one else really has to do, because it is very confusing, time consuming, and just with the new technology, being able to enable a tech in the field to go out and perform a service and collect a payment right there on the spot when they're done, instead of having to have a reader, or even having to call back to the office and letting them know that they completed it, and then having to send an emailed invoice out. Being able to get paid quicker is always, the name of the game. So that's really going to be fun, and I'm really excited, for when that's released. And then, just going down the line, deeper and better accounting integrations. Because again, making sure that we have an all-in-one software that they're able to run their business on and see everything in one place and have those deeper integrations, with the accounting systems. And then, different billing options. So different ways of invoicing, like line by line invoicing, things like that. That's going to be a major turn as well. And then when it comes to like just payments in general, I mean, we do have, accelerated ACH now. So, I mean, as payments continue to get quicker and the payment landscape changes, on the horizon, at some point, I see, possibly same day payments come in, which is, which would be something even bigger. So I'm just excited, as everything is progressing, as it's expanding, there's going to be a lot of cool new options to be able to supply our customers with.
Yeah, I love that. And I have been in payments long enough to remember the dial-up download terminal support. So little PTSD wrapped up in there, but I am equally as excited about tap to phone and that you've removed kind of nearly all of the friction around card present. And what a fantastic use case for your folks where you've taken that, even they pay invoices faster to they're paying on site as the job's complete. Like that's such a natural fit.
Yeah. Yeah. It's going to be neat when we release it. So I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah, I'm excited to hear how it goes. As a final question, it's hard to take kind of all of your experience and sum it up into kind of one thing. But if we did ask you to do so, what would be kind of one piece of advice that you'd give to other vertical SaaS operators who are building out their payment strategy?
Yeah. I mean, the best part about being a verticalized SaaS company is that, you're serving that vertical, you're not generalized. So, all of the data that you're collecting and seeing how your customers are using your platform. It was always just something that we said even in marketing for payments, but I think it really applies to, payment strategy and, having your customers benefit from it. So, it's like use the data you have on your customers to meet them where they're at. And what I mean by that is like, having all that data, but by having all that data, you're going to be able to provide the best payment options and experience possible in that specific vertical. And when your customers see that, they're going to feel that you have their best interest in mind, and that you want to make them successful. And I feel like that's really the upper hand in having that vertical specialty.
Great advice. And again, thank you, Adam, so much for your time being here with us today. We really appreciate it. It was great chatting with you.
Yeah, I loved it. Thank you so much, Becky. And it's always great chatting with you.